Um, my name is Oliver E.K. I am the Associate Director of Admissions and Recruitment for the Department of Social Welfare. We are in the Luskin School of Public Affairs. We have an MSW, Master of Social Work, Social Welfare degree, as well as a PhD program. So welcome. And I'll turn it over to to Carmen.
Hi, everyone. Glad to see you all here. I am the Director of Admissions here at the law school here on campus at UCLA. We have lots of programs. And the reason I'm here today is because we do have 8 joint degree programs, one being the joint degree with Masters in Social Welfare with Oliver's program and department. So happy to answer any questions. I do have some slides. I will go through a lot of information about law school and the admissions process. And then please feel free to ask me any questions that you might have.
Perfect. Yes. So thank you, Carmen. We've been doing this for the last couple of years. So thank you, Carmen, for always making time to do this. I know you're busy. So just a rundown of what we're going to do. So we've actually never done it quite this way before, but I think it might work a little bit better. So we'll go over our admissions requirements for our MSW program, because as a joint student, you need to meet requirements for both programs when you apply. So we'll talk about our program, our requirements for our program briefly. I'll turn it over to Carmen to talk about the School of Law requirements for their program. And then we actually have a couple guests that will join us. A little bit later, we have one current JD MSW student named Sarah who will be joining us. And we have one alumnus, Erica Carroll, who she's been doing this actually with us as well for the last few years. So, and she's great. So she can talk more about like post-program. She can talk about her journey as well, like in the program, but she'll also be able to talk about kind of post, after you finish the program, what are their options and things like that. Okay, so welcome again, everyone. So I'm just going to actually share my screen just so that we can, I'll show you, we'll go directly to our website here and we'll kind of run through everything here. Okay, everyone see this okay? I can never tell. Yeah, okay, cool. Okay, so the website is here. So it's luskin.ucla.edu. So if you go here, there's our homepage. And then for your purposes, I mean, you can feel free to, look anywhere you like, but for your purposes, if you just scroll over this little apply button here, you can go straight down to Master of Social Welfare and just click on that. So this will take you directly to this page, which I'm assuming some of you have seen. And this is strictly admissions purposes. So it'll do a rundown of kind of everything admissions related. So I'm going to highlight here in this section right here. In the middle, so areas of concentration, we have 3 areas of concentration: child and family well-being, health and mental health, and social and economic justice. That tends to be the route that most of our joint students take, the social and economic justice, just because it's more kind of macro social work. Scrolling down a bit here, so admissions requirements, bachelor's degree from an accredited, regionally accredited college or university. So we operate basically under our UCLA grad division guidelines. So they require 3.0 cumulative GPA for admission. If you're below that, you can still be admitted. It would just basically, it would be our department kind of advocating for you, saying that even though they're below the requirement, we believe they'll be a great student. So it's still possible, even if you're below that threshold. For our departmental purposes, we're more concerned with your upper division. So once you're in your major, that's kind of more what we're concerned with. We realize first 2 years of school is a big learning curve, so we kind of focus more on your year 3 and 4. So completion of one course in elementary statistics with a B grade or better. So that's something, if you don't have that, you can still take it when you're applying. You would just need to complete the course by the end of spring. So summer's too late because we start field in summer. So you just need to take this course, make sure it's a graded course, B grade or better. And then completion of 4 courses of social behavioral sciences, including one with human cognitive development. So that basically boils down to, it's really like psychology. So if you've taken like an intro to psych class, you should be good. Developmental psychology, even better. Child and adolescent development. So usually development is going to be in the course title, housed usually in psychology or social work. And then 3 humanities courses. And I mean, through electives and through your lower division, the humanity courses never really seem to be an issue. So it's really about the stats class and the human cognitive development class. So we do not require the GRE, so please note that. There's kind of different information like on the website. Some of them will say submit the GRE if you don't have certain skills, but we don't want the GRE at all. So even if you've taken it, we ask that you not submit the scores. Okay. So I'm going to scroll down here. So everything's digital now. So other than your transcripts, some schools only send paper transcripts still for whatever reason. But other than that, everything's digital. So your letter writers, they'll get a link to upload their letter. You'll create a profile online on our portal. You'll upload everything to the portal. So the graduate online application, there's a link to it right here on this page. So you can, applications are due to open, I believe this week, by the end of the week, but sometimes there are delays. So kind of keep a lookout for that. There's a GPA worksheet that we asked for. And that's, like I mentioned earlier, since we look more at your upper division, that's why we asked for this. So if you're a transfer student, it's actually pretty easy. It's basically your last 2 years in the school you transferred into. So there's a worksheet, you plug all your grade units in, and then it'll provide you with what your junior, senior GPA is. If you're an international applicant, we do require a TOEFL or IELTS that need to be uploaded to your application. We ask for a resume as well, 3 letters of recommendation, at least 1 academic, at least 1 professional. The 3rd can be either or, whatever you think is strongest. I would suggest submitting that. So there's a couple essays that are required. So statement of purpose, and this is really going to be. So there's a couple prompts that you can choose from, but it's basically about like why. I mean, for this, it's going to be why an MSW-JD. Why do you want both degrees, and what do you want to do with them? So it's pretty straightforward. 500-word limit on that. And then the personal statement, it's going to be there's a 500-word limit for that as well. But this is really going to be about kind of your personal journey. So a lot of the things that we look for are kind of leadership, the ability to overcome obstacles, things of that nature. So it's going to be in more personal nature, hence personal statement. So this is really going to be the who. This is going to be your opportunity to let us know who you are, where you're coming from. Your grit and determination can be here. So all these pieces are roughly equally balanced. So even if you're lacking in work experience, you can make up for it in other areas and vice versa. So anything you're missing, you can take it at a community college, no problem. You don't have to do like an extension class or anything like that. You just need to be graded for the stats class. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for our MSW program. We have an early deadline of December 15th, which is for if you're applying for one of our fellowships, December 15th. If not, it'll be January 15th for our final deadline. So if you have any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat and I can answer them while I turn it over to Carmen.
Thank you so much, Oliver. I am going to talk about the admissions process and the nuts and bolts of that, but I'm going to start sort of more general in terms of law school and your journey for applying to law school. I think once you choose a more focused master's program, I think you would know pretty much why you're applying to that master's program. Law school is a little bit different because you can literally have any major and apply to law school. And oftentimes people aren't sure why they're applying to law school or if they surely should apply to law school. And I'm not really sure where many of you are in that journey. So I am going to start from the very beginning. So Let me go ahead and share my screen now. All right, so the application process is really a journey. Because this is a little bit about me, so you don't think I'm just someone who walked off the street and is starting to talk to you all. I am a local, earned my bachelor's in sociology from UC Irvine, and master's from Syracuse, my JD from Syracuse as well. And I've been working in law admissions since 2002, and I'm happy to be a resource for you now until the day that you matriculate into a joint degree program. I am also online, so if I go past the slide and you don't have it, feel free to just look me up on the UCLA website. So the phases of law school application journey really goes through several phases. Number one, whether law school is right for you. I just spoke with someone who sounded like she was sure about applying to law school. It was a last minute decision. So once she stopped talking, my first question to her was, are you sure you want to go to law school? And she actually chuckled. She goes, that's a really good question. It's an expensive endeavor. I've been doing this for many years, and there have been too many times where I've had a first year student in my office say, this is not right for me. And they're actually doing well academically. They drop out after their first year. And at that point, they're $50,000, $60,000 in debt. I don't want that to be you. Then, of course, there's the application preparation process, then the application requirements, the nuts and bolts, where to apply, right? There's all types of law schools in all different types of cities and settings and locations and universities. That may play a part in how well you do and how happy you are in law school. And then once you've been admitted, deciding where to attend. Now, I am going to go through these pretty quickly because I'm trying to cram in an hour and a half of information into 10 minutes. And I am a resource for you even after today. So I will be going by pretty quickly. Is law school right for me, right? What should I do to determine whether or not law school is right for me? Many of you, you're all doing it already, going to information sessions, doing research on your own, talking to pre-law advisors here on campus. UCLA is actually one, if not in any given year, the largest producer of law school applicants as an undergraduate institution nationwide. So trust that your pre-law advisor, career counselor here on campus has advised many, many students who have gone on to great law schools. Do 10-minute, Zoom or phone calls. You could cold call, cold email lawyers in various fields. And don't just tap into one type of lawyer, right? There are many types of lawyers out there in the field. The law touches, quite frankly, every aspect of society. Representation is needed everywhere. So, you've decided to become a lawyer. What type of lawyer do you want to be, right? And check out blogs about what law school is like. And I have to add, and it isn't on here, talk to admissions folks, right? Especially when you get to the admissions process. I would advise you to all those blogs and chat rooms and things like that many of you are on, Reddit in particular, take that information with less than a grain of salt, quite frankly. We urge you to come to us for the information that you are inquiring about. Application preparation. What should I do now? Now, I don't know what year you are here at UCLA. Maybe you're a graduate, maybe you're a freshman, but there are things that you can do along the way prior to even applying to law school, right? Choosing a major, gaining relationships with professors so you get that letter of recommendation that you need, building those relationships, working on your GPA and really focusing on that. We are a competitive law school. We don't just look at LSAT and GPA, but I'm certainly not going to pull the wool over your eyes. Again, we're a competitive law school. So yes, those are two important factors, not the only factors, but certainly important factors in the review process. Activities, both on campus and off campus, leadership positions, work and internships, right? Are you working full time? Are you working part-time? What are the circumstances surrounding that? Are you someone who has to pay your way through school? Are you supporting people outside of just you and yourself and your immediate family? We're trying to build a story, right? You're trying to tell us who you are, where you have come from, and where you want to go. an LSAT diagnostic, right? Doing practice exams, signing up for a course, studying on your own, making sure you have a schedule such that you give yourself enough time to adequately prepare to the best of your ability the LSAT exam, and whether or not you're going to take time off. Deciding where to apply, do your research, right? Yes, there is a transfer process, just like there is in undergrad here at law school as well, but who wants to go through another application process if you find yourself at a law school you're unhappy with? We come in all shapes and sizes, right? Here at UCLA, we have the benefit of being located on an undergraduate campus. Some law schools are self-standing, where we are in a metropolitan city. Some people are in more of an urban setting, a rural setting even. We're in a big city, not too far from the hustle and bustle of downtown, far enough away if you want to go to the beach or the mountains. There are other law schools that are much smaller than we are. We are a mid-sized law school. We bring in a class of between 310, 320, 330, depending on the year. Others range from 150s to the 500s. So what type of law school would suit you? Do you want to be far away from home? Do you want to be close to your family? All those things are factors to be considered. Make sure you don't just apply to dream schools. Oh, this is my dream to attend one of these top 5 schools. Make sure you have your reach schools. You apply to 2, 3, 5 of those. Your 50-50 schools, yeah, I have a pretty good chance. I'm not sure, depending on the year. Give yourself enough leeway in that regard as well. And then your safety schools, were based on your LSAT and GPA, you think you have a more than 50% chance of getting in. I will tell you, you never know post-COVID what type of year we're going to have. Last year, I've had many people in my office who were waitlisted, who had strong applications and said, I was waitlisted every school I applied to. Whereas 2 years ago, with my numbers, I would have been admitted. So definitely don't overestimate your credentials, right? Definitely cast your net out wide. Look at career services statistics, job placement, the attorney advisors or career counselors that certain law schools may have. Our attorney advisors that counsel all of our law students all have their JDs and all have practiced law prior to coming here. Do other law schools have that profile for your attorney advisors? What type of networking opportunities do you have? What resources do career services have? Our bar passage rate as well. Take a look at that, and availability of financial aid and scholarships. We have a number of full tuition scholarship programs. They're all listed online. 2 of them do have earlier deadlines. We have our Achievement Fellowship Program and our Distinguished Scholars Program as well. They're both full tuition. They both have earlier deadlines. They both have specifications that we are looking for when you are applied to those 2 particular programs. Our Distinguished Scholars is a binding program. So if you are admitted through our Distinguished Scholars Program with full tuition, you must withdraw your application from all other law schools. But there's a lot more information, but I direct you to the website, to our website, for more information on scholarships. The basics about UCLA Law School. We are the youngest of the top law schools. We are fairly young, and you wouldn't even know, given the breadth and depth of the course curriculum that we have here at the law school. Wide array of programs, centers, and institutes. I just counted roughly as we were just beginning the program. We have over 25. I urge you to compare our program, centers, and institutes to any law school around the country. I must admit, I haven't looked at the websites of every single law school across the country, but those that I have looked at, we have far more offerings and opportunities for our students than other law schools. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, we are located on the UCLA campus, so we reap the benefits of being part of campus and the resources that main campus has as well. Since you are presumably have a UCLA law affiliation, I will add that our double Bruins who have matriculated in as law students but earned their bachelor's here at UCLA underscore the feeling that we actually function much like a very small private school, in that we are self-sufficient. We have our own admissions office, our own financial aid office, our own library. As many of you know, we have our own law building where all your classes are held unless you decide to take courses outside of the law school. We have our own student affairs office. So the departments in and of itself, we are self-sufficient. One of the best I shouldn't say one of the best departments, but one of the most useful departments that we have set aside and apart from UCLA is that we have our own IT department, right? So you don't have to wait in those long queues with all the undergrads and graduate students waiting for technical help. And we also have our own bookstore in Laval Commons as well, downstairs from Laval Commons. So you don't have to wait in the long lines at Ackerman to get your books as well. All right, I'm gonna have to race through these, just some pictures depicting UCLA. We have a lot of opportunities in terms of curriculum and extracurricular activities here on campus, over 70 student organizations and journals, plenty of opportunities to take clinics and simulation courses. So I urge you to compare us to other law schools that you might be considering as well. Again, some of the course offerings that we offer. We also have a study abroad UCDC program. Here's a list of some of our program centers and institutes. I will mention, a few. As you can see, we have programs in public interest law, environmental law, technology and law, our Williams Institute on sexual orientation and gender identity law, or media, entertainment, technology, and sports law, just again, a whole host of them. So feel free to go on the website and take a closer look at them. These are our specializations. The difference here is if you specialize in one of these 8 areas or participate in trial advocacy program, you can earn a certificate and it is notated on your transcript. Career services highlights just some of the resources and services that they provide. In any given year, we have up to 400 employers that come on campus or see our students virtually to meet with our students. Our alumni network is certainly nothing to sneeze about. 18,000 alumni across the world, all 50 states and 55 countries as well. How to apply, I again will direct you to the website, which has all the information that Oliver mentioned for his department. Our application is open if you plan to apply this cycle. Our deadline is February 1st, and you must take the LSAT no later than January. If you are unfamiliar with LSAC, you should definitely get acquainted with it. This is where you will apply at www.lsac.org. You can also apply through our website, our admissions website. It just links to lsac.org. LSAC stands for the Law School Admission Council, which is the mother organization that hosts all ABA-approved law schools and is where you will actually send your transcripts and your letters of recommendation, and they also administer the LSAT. So important factors, I mentioned earlier, LSAT and GPA are 2 important acronyms that we all know what they stand for, but the huge component that lots of people discount for a law school like UCLA is your own uniqueness, who you are. And we really do value what you will bring to our community. People ask me, what type of student are you looking for? Well, you've been on campus, you see the diversity of the community that we have here. You see the depth and breadth of the curriculum and programs, institutes, and centers that I showed you very briefly. In order to be able to support these programs, we need the students who have interest areas in all programs that we have here, over 25. So you can only imagine what they have what they're bringing to the community when they apply and when they enroll. We are looking for folks that can contribute to this diverse community that we have, diversity in the greatest sense of the word. Your life experiences, your interest areas, your history, your where you have studied, what you have studied, and what you plan to study, all of that, your passion, what do you bring? Because the learning goes both ways. It doesn't just go from the professor to the students, it goes from the students out into the community. And we learn so much from all of you as well. What to submit? Again, these bullet points are located on the website as well. Completed application, optional statements such as a diversity statement or a why UCLA statement. We don't affirmatively ask for these two types of statements, but we are open to receiving them. So please feel free to submit addenda of diversity and why UCLA. I should note that I am only speaking for UCLA law schools. So if you have questions about whether or not you can upload additional statements for other law schools, certainly reach out to them. Personal statement, the prompt is essentially what I just said about what you can contribute to our community, what makes you different, what makes you unique across over 7,000 other applicants. Study abroad, working in law firms, experiences like that in and of itself is not going to be unique, but perhaps it is the experience that you had within the study abroad or at a particular law firm that you can share with us that has springboarded your passion into the law, or perhaps a life experience growing up. It could be any of that, because really we wish that we could have grown up with you, and all of that is what we are trying to glean when we're reading the entirety of your application. We do require a resume, 2 letters of recommendation that will speak to the skills needed to succeed in law school, and your character as well. Official transcripts from all institutions that provided credit towards you earning your bachelor's degree. The LSAT, we actually do accept the GRE now as well. The application fee, and this is our link to our admissions requirements. Financial aid, a little bit about this. 82% of enrolled JD students receive some sort of scholarship. That the amount ranges the gamut as well. I mentioned the full tuition scholarship opportunities, and we do, for those who are eligible, you can apply for need-based grants as well. We do review the FAFSA and take that into account too. You can follow us in a number of ways, or you can just go to our website. All right, so that's law school in a nutshell. Thank you.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Carmen. That was great. Yeah, I always, we were talking earlier, and I always learn something as well in every session we do. So thank you for that. It looks like we do have our special guests here today. So Sarah and Erica, welcome.
Hi.
All right, great. All right, so so let's start out maybe with introductions. So Erica, if you could introduce yourself, tell us a little bit more about you for all of these fine people here today.
Sure. Thanks. And thanks everyone for inviting me and for your time this afternoon. My name is Erica Carroll. I am a lead program analyst with the State Bar of California. I am a 2014 graduate of UCLA with the JD MSW program. I've been with the State Bar about 3 years. My work there primarily focuses on 3 main things. Grant making, so the State Bar is a major funder of civil legal aid throughout California. Access to justice initiatives, so conducting studies and leading initiatives to increase access to the court system or to legal services throughout the state. And the State Bar's diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. Prior to my time at the State Bar, I was a legal aid attorney in Los Angeles, primarily focused on family law, specifically working with survivors of domestic violence.
Should I go next? Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah. I'm a 1L or first year law student in the JD MSW program. So I'll start my MSW coursework next year. So I'm in about week 4 of my first year of law school right now. And before this, I did my undergrad in Pittsburgh at Carnegie Mellon, studying global studies and French and Francophone studies. And then I spent about 3 years working in international development before deciding to come back to school. So yeah, I'm fresh to the program and happy to talk more about that and answer any questions that come up.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Yeah, so we have very different, what should be kind of different perspectives and different kind of journeys to where they are now. So I think for my first question, and then I'll turn it over to Carmen, it's just if we could talk about like your journey through maybe like the application process, discovery, like did you always know you wanted to apply for the JD? Did the MSW? I mean, what was your process and what led you to both apply to UCLA in the joint program? And so what was that process like? So I think that will be very beneficial for the folks here today who are kind of in that process right now of figuring out where to apply. Is the joint degree right for them? So we'd love to, maybe Sarah, if you could start, and then we can turn it over to Erica about your journeys into the joint program here at UCLA.
Sure. Yeah, like I said, I did my undergrad in Pittsburgh, and then I was working the last 3 years in DC. So I did not go to UCLA before. I had been to Los Angeles for a total of 2 hours before moving here permanently. In the application process, I knew for sure that I wanted to go to law school, and social work or social welfare was something that I started to develop an interest in just through my like extracurricular and volunteer work in DC. And I didn't really want to let go of that idea either. So my application process, I'm very type A, it was very formulaic. So it was like schools that have strong public interest programs and lots of opportunities, like Carmen was mentioning, for community involvement in clinics. And then it was schools that offer lots of, have a reputation for offering financial aid, scholarship, support. And then I knew I wanted to be in a large city that could provide opportunities for things I was interested in relating to housing, immigration, issues like that. So that's kind of how I stumbled upon UCLA. And then I found out about the joint program, which seemed kind of perfect for me, especially because I wasn't going to be starting the coursework at the same time. So I was going to have a little bit of leeway to get acclimated to the new city and to one degree rather than starting two new overwhelming things at the exact same time. So that really appealed to me, and that I didn't need to make this whole decision for the rest of my life right now if I wanted to be a lawyer or a social worker or what, but I could kind of get exposure to both sides of the social issues that I'm interested in. So yeah, I applied to the law school first, to one of the early decision, like scholarship deadlines that Carmen mentioned. So I knew pretty early on that I was going to come to UCLA Law. And then the master's application was not due until, I don't remember, was it February, March, like sometime in early winter. So I had some time to work on that application in the meantime, but I knew for sure I was coming to UCLA Law before I submitted my application for the master's, which is a separate application. So you indicate that you're interested in both programs, but you have to separately apply to both. You have to upload references, personal statements, all of that for both programs. Yeah, so that's kind of an overview. Are there specific things that I left out that you'd like me to cover, Oliver?
That was perfect for me. Carmen, anything?
Nope, it was good. Thank you, Sarah.
Sure.
Erica, do you want to jump in terms of your experience in applying and how it has helped your career?
Sure. So after undergrad, I moved to LA. I wasn't from the area, but I started work as a paralegal at a legal aid organization. So that was really my first exposure to that area of the law. I don't have anyone in my family who's a lawyer. I didn't really know any lawyers. So kind of my concept of what the law was before working in that environment was sort of the kind of corporate law, big firm types. So having that experience really kind of opened my mind to the possibility of going to law school. When I had taken that job, I had been considering going to a social work program or getting some sort of counseling degree. So in my job, I met one of the supervising attorneys who actually had a JD MSW, And so I didn't know prior to that that was even a career option, that you could do a dual degree and have that type of concentration. So working with her and speaking with her and seeing how she incorporated a lot of the skills that she learned in the social work program into her work with clients in her legal practice was very appealing to me, and is pretty much what ultimately made me decide to pursue a joint degree. My process for applying, I knew I wanted to stay in Los Angeles, but I did apply to a variety of schools. But I specifically focused on schools that had that dual degree option. So that helped narrow down the field from the get-go. And, you know, I wouldn't recommend this to anyone. I wound up kind of applying sort of late. So I actually missed that January 15th deadline for the social work program. So when I got into UCLA, I knew I was essentially taking a chance, but I, you know, accepted to go and do, as Sarah was saying, the first year of law school is entirely dedicated to the law school curriculum. And so during my first year of law school, I applied to the social work program. And for those of you who might be on the fence about, like, you don't know if you want to go in doing a joint degree, this might be an option for you. What I found was it was very helpful to be on campus. I could go talk to admissions in the public affairs building, which is right next to the law school. And I was able to get a lot more information and sort of confirm my path without having to, you know, choose that from the get-go. So I think depending on your risk tolerance, because it wasn't a guarantee that you're going to get into the social work program, that might be an option. I probably wouldn't have done it that way if I were to do it over again, but that is one option, is you don't always have to enter as a dual degree student. You could potentially decide that a little bit later down the road. So, and then, yeah, just sort of briefly how this played into my initial career path is I was very focused on continuing the direct service approach that I had done as paralegal. And so I knew I wanted to go back into legal aid, work directly with clients. As I mentioned, I was working mostly with survivors of domestic violence, who are, you know, individuals who've experienced trauma. And so there is immediate applicability in that setting for social work skills, whether it's client interviewing, psychoeducation, you know, working with trauma, helping clients, you know, access resources that are outside of your, you know, the legal services that you're providing. There is a huge overlap between the two disciplines that I found to be very helpful. And, you know, I'm not doing direct service now. I'm doing more kind of policy oriented work. But if you do the social work program, there is also the macro focus track, which also, again, I think lends itself to doing more of that policy type work.
Sarah, I have a question for you. You mentioned in your last answer that you didn't want to let go sort of what you were doing. So that sort of is what, maybe it wasn't the sole prompt, but a prompt for you to apply for this joint degree program. What is your end goal in terms of when you graduate and how you plan to use your joint degree?
Yeah, I think my end goal is right now very similar to what Erica's describing as her early career path was. So maybe I'll have to email Erica for a coffee, but yeah, direct service for sure is the goal. I don't know. And I think I wrote this in my application. I said, like, I don't know if I'm going to be like a lawyer who understands the real world and like how, you know, psychoanalysis and how to work with people, or like a social worker who understands the law, but I know that I want to be in direct service. So working in legal aid, working in small organizations that provide direct service, or potentially working in public defense, those are all of interest to me. But I'm not sure yet which it's going to be. So I'm just kind of trying to keep an open mind, especially because right now I'm, you know, not getting to choose my classes first semester, but next class I'll get to branch out a little bit, and then I'll have the opportunity to work over the summer. So maybe I'll have a better idea of what I imagine I want to do, if in reality that is what I want to do. Yeah. But sorry, just to be more specific, I'm also interested in issues of housing and family law, and just kind of all the issues surrounding that, domestic violence, reentry, a couple of different areas there.
A couple of things I want to just quickly mention is thank you for taking a break in your 1L studies, for being here. And Erica, thank you for your time here, your break away from work. And I also want to mention, I see questions in the chat, but if we don't get to them, please feel free to reach out to Oliver or myself to answer them individually. I'm trying to take advantage, and I think Oliver and I are trying to take advantage of the fact that we have Sarah and Erica here to provide advice and guidance for all of you as well. So what type of advice would you give to the folks here in this session that you didn't know and wish you had known at this given point in time where they're now in their journey? Erica, you look like you're thinking, but I'll go to you first just because Sarah just finished speaking.
Sure. I think one thing that I wish I had maybe known beforehand or taken more time to really think through what was the funding your education aspect, which I know was touched upon a little bit earlier, but I think applying early, exploring your financial aid options, making sure that you're comfortable with the amount of debt that you are likely to take on is really important. The work that I'm doing, some of you may have heard of the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. It is supposed to eventually qualify for forgiveness, but if you've read the news, that's, not as guaranteed as some people maybe anticipated when the program was initiated. And UCLA, has a great loan repayment assistance program, which is something that I knew about going in. So if you are going to be doing public service work, I would recommend looking, into UCLA's program or any other school you might apply to assist you with, enabling you to do the work that you want to do while not worrying as much about loans. Because aside from the financial aspect, it can be kind of a psychological or an emotional toll at times if you have a heavy debt burden when you're starting out your career. So that's something that before I went to school, I wish I had spent even more time than I did really exploring the options.
Sarah?
Yeah, I would second that. I only just found out about the loan repayment assistance program and was really excited. Yeah, financial aid was a big thing for me in the application process. And something I'll mention is I noticed that just applying to grad school felt very different than applying to undergrad. Undergrad felt kind of like a black box, and you're pretty young and you feel like I missed this deadline or that deadline, like it's over. But really, like, everyone on the other side is just a human. So if you have questions, just email and ask. Like, if something's not clear, just ask. It doesn't have to be like, oh, the exact answer I'm looking for isn't on the webpage, so I guess they don't have what I want. You can kind of look at it as more of a like interpersonal application process. And I did that like for plenty of schools. I just emailed and asked questions and people replied and that really helped. So I guess that seems kind of like an obvious thing, but just reaching out, asking people for advice, applying early so it's not an overwhelming amount of essays or applications or references that you need to get all at the last minute, especially with COVID. Like, you never know, maybe one of your references will get sick and 2 days before the deadline. So just starting things early, and just remembering that schools are flexible. Not everything is in black and white. And yeah, also looking into financial aid programs. There's scholarships, but there's also like forgiveness programs. There's also things like in LA, if you're a law student or a social work student, social welfare student, you're automatically eligible for $250 a month in food stamps. So like things like that might not be super obvious, but once you do some research, you find them, and $250 a month might make a big difference in your choice.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, I mean, it's true. Yeah, so we are here as a resource for everyone. So please do reach out if you have questions. You know, we try to include everything on the website, but sometimes things are not, 100% clear. So feel free to reach out if anyone has questions. And we do try to make, we do understand everyone has different resources that come from different backgrounds. So we do try to provide, like Sarah just mentioned, most graduate students, they qualify for CalFresh, which gives you money to buy food. So there's no shame in that at all. And we always tell all of our students that this is something you should look into. I think you even get like a debit card. It's super easy now. So we always try to provide as much support as we can. So we're at 12:48. So I did want to give everyone a chance to ask questions. It's a really great opportunity to have both someone who's finished the program and someone who just started the program. So I'd like to open it up for questions. Does anyone have any questions at all? Okay, yes, James, please.
Hello, this question is for Carmen and Oliver too, I believe, but I'm currently in the MSW program. I'm beginning my first year this semester. I was going to apply to the concurrent degree program last year, but my wife and I got pregnant and we had a baby, and we have a 3-month-old now. So I didn't want to do the law school if I did get in during this first year. So I wanted to know, how does the application process work? Would I be able to, oh, thank you. Would I be able to still apply to the concurrent program? And when should I do that?
Well, first of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
And secondly, you're assuming the second year of having a baby is easier than the first year, and I'm not sure that's true. I have 3, but to each their own. You will discover which is easier and which is more difficult. Yes, you can still apply. You would need to, let's see. So you're going through your first year now. If you apply to the law school now and are admitted, you would then take courses at the law school, and then your second and third year with the law school would be a combination of the two. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, Oliver. And this is something that Student Affairs and Records would handle once you are admitted. I will add also that Sarah actually touched on this a little bit, that the application process for to pursue a joint degree are in and of itself independent processes. You need to apply and be admitted to each program independent of the other first. And then once you are admitted to both, it is then combined into a joint, it is then a joint degree program. So James, for you, yes, you would need to apply and then be admitted to the law school this cycle. So for fall 2023, and then you would take all law courses for that first year. And then your remaining 2 years would be a combination of the two. And in the event that you are, of course, we're not looking in this direction, but it could happen. If in the event that you are not admitted and you decide to reapply for fall 2024, it would then, I think, break down into just 2 separate programs.
Okay, great. I'm sorry, and I do have a follow-up question to that. I did see an earlier question about readmittance, because that was one of my questions as well. If I do apply this cycle and I'm not admitted, how does that impact the second round if I do apply next year?
As a reapplicant, there's no advantage or disadvantage, right? I mean, we're looking at you among the pool of applicants of that particular year, of the year that you are applying, and we are again looking at you as an applicant. We don't look at you necessarily, oh, you were denied last year, so why are you reapplying this year? You were an applicant again. We do see your application from the previous year, but definitely resubmit information that you want us to know again. And while we're here, I will answer the question that is in the chat box. What does UCLA law recommend to reapps who were not admitted previously? You don't need to, depending on how old your letters are, if they're just a year or two old, you don't need to get new ones unless you feel you can get a stronger letter of recommendation. Do you prefer a completely new essay? No, we know that there isn't a lot of time between when you heard that you were denied and when you reapply. It could really be, in essence, several months only. So we aren't looking for anything earth-shatteringly different this time around. You can upload an addendum that gives us specifications in terms of what is different from last year's application, a new LSAT score, or you got a promotion at a job, but we don't expect a dramatically different personal statement unless there is something, unless you want to provide one, right? Certainly we look at it, have someone else look at it, polish it up if you think it needs to be polished. But we're not looking for an entire overhaul in terms of your application.
Okay, perfect. Okay, Dana, please.
Hi, everyone. Okay, so this question is really for Erica. How was it juggling your MSW workload with your JD workload? Was that something that was really, really harsh, or was it more on the manageable side?
Yeah, I think it was fairly manageable. So, the first year being dedicated only to law school, and then the second year being dedicated solely to social work was very helpful to be able to kind of just stay focused and not really need to do that juggling or, portioning out your time. The last 2 years of the program, I would say the trickiest thing is that the law school is on the semester and the social work program is on the quarter system. And so negotiating those kind of calendars might be a little bit of a challenge. But I found that it was actually nice to kind of break it up and have this variety in disciplines in taking classes. Or if you prefer, you probably could, focus on law school for one semester and then maybe do some social work classes solely in the spring. I think there's a lot of flexibility there. And I also found that faculty were very accommodating. Like, for example, I had one class at the social work school that ran into my law school class, like with an overlap of like 5 or 10 minutes. And both faculty were very understanding. And so I would leave one class early and come to the second class a few minutes late, and it was fine. So I would say, if you do the program and you are encountering any scheduling challenges or with the workload, I would definitely reach out to your professors because there's a lot of support there too.
I'll add, I actually did a joint degree. I didn't detail that out on my profile slide, but my master's in Soc was a part of my JD MA actually at Syracuse. And in terms of balancing that, it really is an individualized decision. How well do you multitask? Can you multitask? I get questions all the time. Can I specialize in one area? And my answer would be yes. I mean, you can, but only you know how well you can multitask and what you can handle within your own schedule. So I also, like Erica mentioned, found somewhat of it was kind of a breath of fresh air to have a variety of courses in a couple of different disciplines. The interesting thing about UCLA Law School, though, is that, and quite frankly, this day and age of law school curriculum is that they are so wide in variety and diversity in interest areas. The types of courses that are being offered now were not being offered when I was in law school, at least that I knew of and was aware of. So, some people, they are interested in a JD MBA, but then they realize we have a specialization in business law and it really meets the requirements of what they're looking for, and they don't need to pursue a JD MBA. Not to say that is the case here, but something to think about as well.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for that, Dana. I think we have time for one more question. Does anyone else have another question? Questions. I actually, oh, there we go. Yes. I'm sorry, is it Ariel? Is that correct?
Hey, yeah, thank you so much. Thanks to Sarah and thanks to Erica. I've been curious about the JD MSW combination because I have friends who are doing legal aid who often, so I'm a journalist and I do a lot of reporting on harm reduction and homelessness. And I have friends who as lawyers working in legal aid, they're often the very first and only person that their clients are talking to about substance use and intimate partner violence and things like that. And I'm like, wow, my friends who are telling me this story, they don't have MSW degrees, but it strikes me that they are almost in a counseling role. And so I guess, Erica, I was really curious if you feel like you are equipped to be addressing kind of like the violence that people are experiencing. Like, do you feel like you're adequately prepared? Are you feeling still like all these systems are working against you and there's just kind of too much work to be done? Yeah, I guess I was kind of that more like feeling answer I was curious about.
Yeah, I mean, I think I definitely felt more prepared to address those topics by going through the social work program. I think a lot of attorneys are, as you're saying, working in legal aid, they may be the first to hear about this. And if they don't have a background in social work or in psychology or understanding substance use, they may feel a little bit more lost. That being said, I didn't necessarily view my role as both. I viewed my role when I was working as an attorney with that knowledge base and those skills as a connector or a support for the client. So, a lot of legal aids now also are taking on a more holistic services model. And so they do have social workers on staff who are actually dedicated to addressing those topics more directly, whereas the attorneys might be more focused on the legal services side. So all that to say, I do think it provides more of a foundation in understanding, as well as the ability to talk about these things with clients and feel more confident in the information that you're giving them, as well as the ability to navigate some of those areas with them. So I do think it's beneficial. Is it absolutely necessary? Maybe not. I think that depends on person to person. But I'm also really encouraged by the direction a lot of legal aid organizations are moving in by taking on these more holistic approaches, so that it's not necessarily, if you don't have an MSW, it's not all falling to the attorney, that there are other individuals within the organization that are capable of stepping in.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, so we're perfectly at time now. So before we end, I'll just turn it over to Carmen, Erica, or Sarah, if you have any final thoughts, we can close with that.
I again just want to thank you all for being here, including Sarah, Erica, and Oliver as well. Reiterate the fact that I am a resource now until the end of your journey of applying to law school and thinking about law school, whatever that end is. And I will reiterate Sarah's point of reaching out to us, admissions, whether that be at UCLA or any other law school that you are applying to. We are much more accessible for the most part than you may think, and we are very happy to help you. This is what we're here for. And quite frankly, one of the better, most enjoyable parts of our job is to speak with all of you. So thank you.
Yeah, I threw my email address in the chat if anybody thinks of other questions that they might want to ask after we end. I know the time together was short, so please feel free to contact me if you have other questions about the joint degree program or anything else related to your career afterwards.
Same goes for me. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you again. Thank you all for coming and sharing your lunch hour with us. Thank you, Sarah, Erica, and Carmen. Have a great day, everyone. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day, everyone.